Okay, good morning, sir. So today I'm going to go through some of the stretches that I'd like you to look at, and then we're going to look at some of the stuff I'd like you to do hitting some shots on the range from a just driving range drill perspective. So the key areas we're focusing on, we're talking about getting underneath the golf club so that we have more leverage up here. Now, the one thing I saw, just make sure that it's not getting picked up out here. Because it looked to me like at times, yeah, we're gonna feel like we're going more up, but just make sure the takeaway is not getting picked up in this direction. It's still gonna trend, if the edge of this mat here is where my golf ball is, I still want it to be parallel to that going back. You had it up here a little bit. So there's two up to down. There's an up and down element, but there's also a round and width happening simultaneously. So just watch for that. Now in terms of stretches, the upper back, the stretch I like for the upper back, so the thoracic spine, is when we would lay on the mat, put our hands in a triangle, and then push up in this direction. So the head's looking to the sky, the feet are flat behind you, and you're lifting up. It looks like this from this view here. You can see my spine, upper spine getting stretched out. So that's the first stretch. And then in terms of the hips, we want to focus on the hip flexor. So pushing this stretch where we used to come up in a runner's lunge. So keep that going, left and right side. Then we did this on a chair as well, so you might want to do that, but the pigeon pose where I put my leg sort of flat here, and then I lay down on top of it with my hips pretty square. You can do this on a chair, but basically just getting the outside of the hip on both sides. So hip flexor, outside of the hip, upper spine from a stretching viewpoint. Then, I'll talk about this in a second, then where we would lay the legs over to one side and pull the rib up in this direction while pushing the leg down in the opposite direction. So stretching that out on both sides to help the separation between the pelvis and the ribs. Now, this is called a foam roller, and I'm sure you've seen these before in the gym, but this is going to be a really good ally for us as well. And what I'd like you to focus on with this, I'm going to put this under my thoracic spine right here, and then I've got my hands on the side of my head. I'm going to pull my elbows together, and then I'm just going to lean back and then back up and lean back up, lean back up. So this is opening up the upper spine, the upper back, the neck, in this direction here. So 3 sets of 10 with this under my thoracic spine to help open the ribs up, to help open the upper back up. Then also, if you have a foam roller, it's really important to foam roll the lower back. So the sacrum is where all the ligaments sort of, they come up your legs and they cross sort of in your lower back. So that's an area that really needs to get some attention, especially for golfers. So the low spine, then you can put one leg over the other, roll out each glute individually or the outside of the hip on both sides. Because the glutes are the biggest muscles we have, and everything's sort of connecting through this area. So this is a big mobility provider. Then the IT band, which is the outside of the quad. This area is probably going to feel pretty tight, but it's really important to get this foam rolled. And just look for tight spots in your leg where you can just kind of rest into the tight areas and release some of the tension in those fascia running throughout your body. So on both sides, the outside IT band runs right up here, right at the seam. So that'll help open up the hips as well. So lower back, glutes, IT band, and then obviously with the foam roller, you can do your full back as well. Just rolling it out. And you can do this as a part of this exercise to open up the upper thoracic spine to help your golf swing. So, a few stretches for the hips, a couple things to help open up the upper back. Then, this is just a piece of PVC pipe, but similarly to what we would do in our training, I'd like you to take a wide grip if you can, and this is gonna open up the shoulders. So it might not be feasible to get it all the way forward, back, but whatever range of mobility you feel comfortable with, whether it's here or here or here even, to help stretch out the shoulders, because the shoulder blade has a certain range of mobility and we need it to be able to move 30 degrees back, 30 degrees forward. So if it's tight in the shoulder or tight in the upper back at all, it'll hinder that range of motion. So this would be one as well from a warm-up perspective, just warming up the shoulders in this way. I also like warming up the arms individually. You can do this with a golf club. Feel the grip pressure is pretty firm, opening things up. Okay, now the next thing I want us to focus on in your golf swing is, sounds like you're already starting to get the takeaway a little bit better. Just make sure that's not getting too picked up, because I don't want it to be too vertical in the ground. We need width and we need some of our arc as well. So some of our arc is wide, some of it's more round as well. Just make sure it's not too picked up. But these are 2-pound dumbbells, and we were talking about how moving through, there was a relationship between the right foot and the club head, and how to get the arms to sort of straighten in this direction. So what I'd like you to do is 3 sets of 10. They could be 2s, they can be 5s, but just hip high on both sides. And just feeling the arms getting extended away from you in this direction. If I do it toward you, wide to wide, arms away from you. And I'd like you to hit some golf shots feeling this. The arc's wide on this side, wide on this side. Notice my arms are extended here. What I see in your previous golf swings from the other day, it seemed as though some of them obviously were getting a bit too steep, and then coming through from a down the line view, I could see this left elbow bent from behind, so it looked like this. What I'd like to see is spend some time hitting some half iron shots, so 8-iron, 9-iron, 7-iron, but just in between hitting full shots, spend some time hitting wide arc golf shots. So my arc's wide going back, wide going through. About rib high to rib high on both sides. And I want you to get the feeling of these arms striking into the ground, extending, 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 striking into the ground, extending. So what we're going to clean up ultimately is going to be your finish position, because in the golf swing, when my arms hit parallel to the ground here, they're essentially done. My body's fully turned, pelvis, ribs, shoulders, everything's lined up in this direction here. Then from here, to get the club on my eye line, I'm just gonna fold my elbows and my wrists. But notice the body's done turning at this point in time. If the arms are coming in this way and the body's overturning, the finish can get sort of out of balance. So this is gonna be part of cleaning up your finish position and part of cleaning up your balance, spending some time, arms parallel to the ground, extended. Arms parallel to the ground, extended. Then over time, we'll play around with, okay, can we get to here with everything in alignment, and then fold the elbows, fold the wrists. So, in summary, a few stretches focusing on the hips, a few stretches focusing on the upper back, a way to get the shoulders mobile and warm up the arms a little bit. Then foam rolling, being able to get into the lower back, the lower spine, the glutes, the hamstrings, the back, and then laying on the ground, doing the T-spine mobility work, where the hands are together on the head, and then simply working out mobility in the upper thoracic. So I hope this helps. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll move from here. Thanks.